Hey guys, I had an awesome interview with Mid Magazine, their CEO Josh, and also Trevor Bell. Trevor Bell is a very big TikToker and he's very big on Instagram. He models a lot, he works with a lot of different companies. So I was brought on to talk about business and the creation side of things too, as I do photography and videography as well. So we were just asked a bunch of questions by Josh pertaining to business and creating and connections and doing all these different things. So here's a little brief intro to the video and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today for the Empowerment 2020 conference. We have a great panel here for you guys lined up. This panel is one of the panels on the Create track that we have, and we have two awesome panelists that we're going to have this discussion about. Let's start off with Trevor. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, my name is Trevor. So a little bit about myself. Originally from Texas, had a chance to play and go to school here at Columbia University after graduating. Took a career in 9 to 5. Quickly realized it wasn't for me. Used social media realistically as an outlet for myself for fitness and things like that. Began to understand the opportunity that social media had and built a career from there. Now I'm a fitness model and a full-time content creator and work with a lot of cool brands like Coca-Cola, Nike, Adidas, New York Sports Club, things like that. So happy to be here. And Josh, thanks for putting this on.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Daniel.
Hey guys, what's going on? Daniel Booter. I own a marketing company. It's what I specialize in. I work with companies and celebrities doing their marketing from like websites to commercials, branding, all of that. And, through my years, I've just been able to build up a lot of cool connections and I'm doing what I love. So it's just a blessing for me. Every step I'm taking is just like, I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for putting this on again, Josh. It's great.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, again, we definitely appreciate you both taking your time to do this. The Mid team is looking forward to be able to share this with everyone. So kind of want to dive into getting to know a little bit more about you guys through your journey, but through the lens of the Create track that we have you guys in. So I think the first way we can dive into it is a unique way of talking about where your creativity is rooted. So the question we want to ask is, what are your Create origin stories? Basically, where does the roots of your creativity begin? And either one of you can take the first stab at this.
Trevor, I want to hear yours. Go for it, man.
Put me on the spot. Where's my creative, I guess, origins begin? That's a really good question. It's a question I kind of think about often now, actually. And it's like, for me, it starts with fitness. Fitness has always been a huge part of my life personally, growing up, and also just things that I enjoy, right? Like when it comes to creativity, I think our best creative output comes from the most authentic place within us. And so for me, that is fitness, that's sports, that's entertainment. And to be honest, I'm a big fan of like action heroes and movies. So like that's where like the origin of my creativity starts. Like, being a child watching those superhero films as you grow up. And then my dream as a child also to play in the NFL, like having athletics has been a big part of my life. Those two things have had the biggest impact. And I think where most of my creativity stems from, along with other big icons, like for example, The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and guys like that, and Terry Crews. These guys in the entertainment space that are able to combine entertainment with fitness have been big inspirations for me. So that's where my origins kind of come from.
Nice. I like that. It's funny. Whenever I think about the idea of origin story, I think about superheroes. I think like X-Men origins and all that, or Wolverine, and
right?
Stuff. And like, yeah, it's
gonna insert like a Spider-Man and like picture right here.
Put up a picture of Trevor. He's a superhero now too.
What about you, Daniel?
Oh, for me, man, it's interesting because I have the marketing company, but I do a lot of photography and videography too. So, but it's interesting though, because like when I started it wasn't that. It was first drawing when I was a kid. I was really into it. And then when I got to high school, I actually became a barber. So that I took that creativity and I moved it there. I started a business from there. And being creative with that, I was like, I started like turning the gears of marketing and had like really creative solutions to all these, marketing issues that you can have. So in university, I did that. And then then I got a camera actually. And at that point, that's when I started to get into the photography, videography. It was pretty much the same to me as art, as drawing, except it was just another form of it. And, from that, I just kept expanding and doing more because it's like an endless thing. Like you can go on forever about learning photography, video, and doing all this creative stuff. So I guess like the ambition of creativity, that's what keeps me going, So that's kind of like where it kind of all came from.
That's awesome. This is really cool to kind of see how that transferred to different forms of art. I mean, I never knew you were a barber at one point too, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I
cut my own hair too, so that's how it started, actually.
If I could fly you out right now to give me a haircut, because I had to shave myself up before this because of this COVID. My whole barber's been going for a little bit.
It's funny, man. I've had a lot of my friends, like, I don't charge anybody, but I have a lot of my friends that are like, bro, I'll pay you $250. Like, come on, just cut my hair. I'm like,
That's for times.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really cool to hear, like, where those stories come from, because a lot of time I think people, they see the creative end of something, like right. Artwork when it's done, a piece of artwork, or a photograph when it's done, or a video when it's done, but don't really think of where it started, which I think is pretty similar across the board.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have too, is like understanding where people are coming from. Because when you see people in these, for example, like Daniel, and like being able to do all the amazing things he's able to do, it's like there's so many influences that he's been able to convert those influences that he's had creatively into such a like an amazing career now. And it's like that process is like something that I think should be talked about more.
It's crazy because like that creativity doesn't just stem from like one piece of art, right?
Right, exactly.
Right, because I think of photography as art too. The stuff that Trevor does is 100% art. Like the stuff, the concepts he's putting together, the costumes he's doing, the TikToks that you're making, like, those are really well thought out. And that's the same creativity that spans throughout all the things that I've done in my career and things that you've done in yours too, right? So I feel like creativity is so much more than just like one avenue.
Yeah, I think it's cool too to kind of piggyback off of that. It's cool because it's a culmination. Like what ends up being like what I'm finding is the most creative thing that people end up coming up with or diving into. It's a culmination of all their interests meshed in one. And because we're all so different, because we have all so many different experiences, that allows us that's what really sets us apart, right? When we try to grow into different careers. And I think that's like such a special thing when you can take all of those influences and combine it into something different and special that's unique to you.
Yeah, that's so interesting because like kind of going back, because I just told you guys what I've pretty much done, and going to now, like having with my marketing company, it's not just marketing that I do. I also have, the photography stuff in there, graphic designing, videography, like commercials, it's all part of it. So I took those pieces of creativity and I like threw it into that.
Yeah.
And I just expanded from there. Like, it's all, that's what I love. That's why I love it so much, because it's so creative and I love to just dabble in that. It's so much fun for me.
Yeah, it definitely dives back a lot into passions. And I think it's a pretty good segue into the next question we have. This one is specific for each of you. So, Daniel, I want to ask you, how have you leveraged your connections and your marketing powers to be able to amplify your ability to create? And does that come from a specific creative influence?
So I think there's like two things for me. It's that business side of my mind and it's the creative side of my mind. So that combination together brings a lot of opportunity, because the first thing I was thinking is like, when I'm in a room, I'm not just discounting everybody I'm better than you or whatever. Like, no, I'm going to talk to everyone all equally. And when I see that opportunity there, that something can grow out of it, then I harness that. And I feel like, not to toot my horn or anything, but I feel like I've been able to capture that and see that before I even know kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
At the same time, if I see somebody who's doing amazing things, and they could be an A-list celebrity, but I don't really mess with them like that. The way that they, portray themselves or whatever, or not just portray, but the way that they act, then I won't want to be there.
Yeah.
But that kind of like mixture of the two lets me be creative, getting me more opportunities. So making those connections gives me more opportunities and gives me more places to be creative.
Yeah.
So kind of without those opportunities and without those changes, the creativity kind of dies, right? Because if you're not exploring, if you're not going out, traveling is I love doing, something I love doing. And doing all these different things, it gives you more creativity, it gives you more ideas. Speaking to new people, it gives you more, it just gives you more. So you take that, you piggyback off of that, and that's where you start to rise up, and you can just go crazy with creativity. I just get ideas left and right, and just, you just use it all wherever I can. So that's kind of where I go with that.
That's huge. I think that definitely keeps the authenticity of what you create, is making sure that you're creating with people that you feel kind of share the same, whether it's passion or morals or just mission that you do. It makes it a lot easier not to have to fake what you're creating. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I'm agreeing. Go ahead. Go for it.
I was just going to say, that's it. And when you ask like the creative influence, right? I think the creative influence is literally the creativity. Because like, it's like the more creativity I have, it's like self-driven. It's like a self-driven engine. The more I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it works with me. It's just a self-driving engine.
Nice.
I was gonna say, I don't want to segue too much, but like you mentioned, like creative versus business, and this is something that I've been dealing with a lot as a creative, because it's so important nowadays for creators to not only be a creative and be able to put out their talent and their art form, but to also have that business sense too. And I've had to develop that way more than I thought I would at this point. And I was wondering, just generally, Josh, if you don't mind, like how is that like for you, Daniel? How has that like that journey been for you? Like,
so I haven't actually put this out, how I think about this, but there's like kind of two ways I think about it. So you guys play basketball at all?
Yeah.
Josh plays more than I do.
Okay. So the way that I think about it is like an alley-oop. Like I'll be throwing up alley-oops left and right because I'll be up in the game, right? You're only going to do that when you're up in the game. You're very confident. You throw some alley-oops. If they miss, it's not a big deal. If it hits, it's great. So in that same method, I'm thinking with my creativity, I'm like, all right, let me be as creative as I can be as long as I'm up. And then then if it works, if it becomes something, great. If it doesn't matter. Who cares? I'm up in the game, right? And because that business is already there, right? So that business part, you got to focus on it and make sure it's there. But that creativity side, you should let it flourish too. But just sometimes you need to mediate how much you can do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to say like shut off your creativity. The creativity is everything. That's where it starts. That's where the foundation is.
Yeah.
But it's really important to, just like you've learned that you need to be able to build off of that creativity and build that business off of it and create a way where people can, you can monetize off of it and keep it going. Because at the end of the day, it's business, and, you need to be able to run the business in order to, keep your dream alive.
Got to make money to survive.
Exactly. And, in a perfect world, you won't have to do that.
Yeah.
Perfect world, you can just do what you want to do and you get paid for it and you're great at it and that's it. But I know some creators that are amazingly talented, like so talented, and they don't get paid at all because they don't know how to run the business side.
They don't have the business side.
Yeah. So it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to balance out. But once you do it, those are the two things that I would say though you need to work on, able to be successful as far as like creativity side.
That was a good question, Jordan. That was good.
I agree. I mean, because it's something I deal with all the time, and it's like I go back and forth. I have to like find a balance really as I've moved in my career, because I can continue to dive deep into the creative process, but if I don't have anything monetized around it through social media or whatever my outlet may be, then it can't be sustainable, right? So it's always to find that balance.
So I'm curious to ask you, what's like a specific situation where like this has happened to you? So be about what you should do.
Yeah, like for me, so for me, basically, I do a lot of types of content, right? I do fitness content. I literally have a big whiteboard here. I do fitness content, nutrition content, educational content, and then cosplay, like general cosplay content. And then there's a lot of overlap in between those 4 categories. And so for one category, cosplay, for example, you know, with monetizing that, it's not really a direct way of monetization. While it gives me a lot of attention on social media and like a brand may see that as potential, there's a lot of copyright with cosplay. I can't pop up in a Spider-Man suit and make a video with like a brand because it's copyrighted. So there comes a lot of, you know, things in there. And, you know, my art form is like replicating superheroes and doing all that stuff, but there comes a barrier of monetization there. And so that's one instance that comes up. Another instance is like, you know, with like anything I do, if I'm doing like fitness modeling, things like that, it's like monetizing it is not always, it sometimes seeps away from the creativity I'm finding. You know, when I have to focus on like sales, or if I'm making fitness content, if I have to focus on selling a fitness program or getting clients, like that takes away from like the joy. Sometimes it can take away from the joy. And so for me, I found that it's really crucial for me specifically to find the balance. And I've gotten better at it now. But
yeah, sometimes when I'm doing photography for a client, it's like, man, I really want to do this, but I can't because this is the way that you want it.
Of course.
And like,
that's exactly the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think going to the superhero thing, when you do that, it's actually you can think about it. You kind of said it out actually perfectly. You said it perfectly, where like it's not direct monetization, but actually that's such a powerful marketing tool for you that it gets those people in the door.
Of course. And another thing I should say, and this is probably helpful for people that are going to be watching this in retrospect, is like there are always going to be ways to monetize. It may not be direct, right? Like for example, I do this fitness stuff and the cosplay, but there's no direct way to monetize that, right? But like you said, there is attention, and there are ways on social media to monetize: YouTube ads, TikTok virtual gifts. You can make money by going live on TikTok. There's all sorts of ways to do it. So it's ways to do it, but I just find that it's been a challenge sometimes. And so I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that there is, like, for me as a creator and a lot of creators in the space that I've talked to, there seems to be a challenge with finding that balance between the two.
Yeah, I think that's definitely huge. I mean, throughout everyone that will be speaking on the Create Track panel and even the other 3 tracks, a big thing we want to try to extract is how you leverage the different pieces that you're good at, to whether it is to monetize or it's to just do what you want to do with your life. And I think kind of playing off of the original question for Daniel, for you, Trevor, how do you kind of leverage your past experience and then also your ability to influence, to be able to amplify your ability to create? And because I think that's kind of going on with what you were saying, is how sometimes there's things that you're not making money off of directly, but that can fall into the category of those are the things that are keeping the community that you influence involved, so that when you put something out, they'll be the first ones to buy it because they know who you are.
Yeah, that's true. And like what I'm noticing now more than ever is that when I'm focused on the audience and the viewer in my content creation process, the monetization actually ends up working out better. It just might not be when I think it will happen. Right. So like when I'm on social media, like, and this is a prime example, I was working my 9 to 5, still working, just graduated literally. And I was working 9 to 5 and posting content on the side. I was just posting cosplay stuff, like didn't have any real intention of like monetizing. I was just posting what I loved. I knew people loved it. And I was posting, you know, for the end consumer and for myself. And like, that was it. It was just me and the viewer. And what happened was I ended up getting offered to get on a TV show from that moment. Right. And like, it's not something you can predict. And at that time I wasn't focused on monetizing specifically, but I got offered to get on a, CBS television show, a game show where I won a cash prize, which is like, so for me, it just seems that it's just, I think that's what it is. It's like, you can focus on the consumer, you can focus on what you love, and you don't really have to focus on monetizing if you don't have a timeline, like if you're not pressed for a certain time. So.
Yeah. And I think that what you said was really, really, really strong, as far as like focusing on your consumer is everything. Like
Yeah.
You can brand your business all day long, think of business ideas and, oh, I have this idea, I have that idea, and you could even execute it. But at the end of the day, if you don't know what the consumer wants, it's not there, right?
Yeah.
So not being genuine in the social media game is like, it's so easy to see through, you know,
Yeah.
and the audience picks up on that. So when you're catering to the audience, you're giving the audience what they want, and you're also, you know, fulfilling yourself creative wise, then you're able to push that boundary where you don't even know. Like, how could you have thought, like, oh, I'm going to get on TV because of this? You know, you would have never thought that.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened because you were catering to them.
It's safe to say that I've never felt regret from putting the audience first or putting the consumer first.
That's huge.
I don't think you ever will either. That's always the best way to do it, 100%.
Yeah. It's like they say in any forms of business, the client's always right or the consumer's always right. The user who you're creating for. And I feel like as long as you're creating for yourself and for the people that enjoy what you do, it'll continue to be a passion as long as it takes. But that's for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I think kind of going into the next question, kind of wanting to look at 10, 20, 30 years from now. If both of you could fast forward from today, let's say 30 years, what would you see as the lasting legacy of creativity that you were able to leave for the previous 3 decades? Or if you want to look at it from the other lens, if you were to look right now and paint a picture of what the next 30 years would look like for your creativity and that legacy, what would that be? And shout out to my man Maurice Manley for that question he had asked my co-founder and I, Sharon.
Shout out to Maurice.
Podcast, and I was like, man, that is a good question.
All right, Daniel, you're up.
This is gonna happen.
Let's see it.
So you know the thing is, like, when you think about 30 years, there's so much that you can plan for that time. And when you think about creativity wise, like, for me, I'm thinking, firstly, I really just want to be able to inspire people, because I'm sure you, Trevor, can also attest to people coming to you now and asking you all these questions or telling you, like, oh, you've inspired me so much to do this and that. And, you know, I'm sure you have a million of those stories. And when I get those, like, it just motivates me so much. And that's something that I really love to do. So in the future, if I have a place where I can have a book or have a movie or anything like that where it's inspiring people, that's going to last even longer than me. So even going past 30 years, it could be like just inspiring people off of it and helping people. And that's going to be like my biggest thing. So that's like kind of like the first thing about that. And I feel like creatively, I really just want to make some really powerful pieces that stand the test of time, right? And, you know, doing that creatively, I think that would just make me really happy as far as, like, what I've done. And, you know, I want to be able to have something that people could look at and just be like, oh, yeah, we know when that came out, we remember. Like, that was really powerful. And, yeah, that's really, like, kind of like what I'm really shooting for as far as, like, the 30 year mark from today. I think that'll probably be a strong place to be at.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's actually really amazing. And I actually agree with a lot of things Daniel said, and I would share the same sentiment. For myself, 30 years, it's a tough question, Josh. Tough question.
What would almost 60-year-old Trevor do?
60-year-old Trev.
Would you still be jumping off the buildings in Spider-Man suits?
Honestly, probably, everybody. Probably. You probably still do.
I would be trying to do my best at that point. In all seriousness, I want like a thing that I have on my phone right now that I look at every day, and I'm trying to like get my thing is live the life of your dreams and inspire others to do the same. Like I have that on my phone every day, and I look at that every day when I wake up, and that to me is what I want to be known for. I want to be able to live a life in such a way where I have been able to pursue what I love. Like, I mean, really pursue what I love. Like, no hesitation, whether that's traveling the world or reaching out, explore different cultures and inspiring people in the way I do through my content. But I want to, like, the big message that I want to share is that, like, everyone else can do that too. Because I feel like so many people get confined in their own heads and get caught up in systems and systematic suppression, and like they have to do like this, or they have to do this, or they have to do this to make a living. Like, I want to be able to show as many people as possible all around the world that with enough creativity and the willingness and the willpower, that you can turn what you really love, that thing that burns inside of you when you wake up every day, like that deep down passion, into something that you can do every day and you can share with people, and that can be your livelihood. And that's what I want. Like, I really want, like, I can't stress enough. That's what I want to do. I think that, you know, I run a school right now on an education platform called School of TikTok, where we help people turn their passions into like businesses using social media. And so if I could do that on a wide scale, that's what I want to be known for.
Man,
yeah.
You almost fire me up to just go jump off the top of my building. But I don't think I still got that bunnies like I used to, so I have to chill.
I see you jumping around a little bit. I don't know, man. Put yourself short.
That's good. That's real good. I like that. I think, it's crazy. I think a lot of times people in our age range, as we're really digging in deep and trying to figure out what our passion is and what we want to continue to do, I feel like a lot of times we don't sit back and see we've come a long way from where we started. And then also too, like, wait, there's an impact that I'm making on someone right now, whether I know we are making that impact or not. Like, there's an impact that's being had. So what exactly would that look like when I look back at my life and kind of think about that? And I think that's really, really important. Not to always live in the future. I think living a moment is good, but sometimes it is good to kind of see where you're headed, because that might help you.
Agreed.
You'd be so surprised, like, even when, like, I wasn't even promoting my stuff too much and, like, nobody really knew what was kind of going on with me. Mm-hmm. Even then, I had people telling me, like, you know, wow, you know, you did this. Like, oh, you have your business in high school for the haircuts, right? That, oh, yeah. You did this, and now I'm so inspired to start my own business. And I've had those messages so many times from, like, friends in high school and stuff like that. And it's kind of crazy. Like, you would never know, literally never know that how much you impacted somebody. And, like, it's insane. So that's all, like, I'm always on edge as far as, like, making sure everything's on point. And, you know, because it's not just about me. It's not about just my personal image, but it's also about them. It's like there's people kind of looking up to you all the time. Yeah, no matter who you are. You can even be an uncle or a father or mother. It doesn't, like, you could just be there for somebody and they'll be looking up to you. And that's just how it is. So it's like it's always like really smart to stay on top of the game for everything, right?
Isn't it crazy how, like, too, is when I realized this, when it becomes bigger than you, like, how you move different and you think different. Like, when it becomes, like, you know, you mentioned, like, you realize, like, it's bigger than you. Like, this person, you weren't even doing anything, and this person, you inspired this person and basically probably changed that person's life.
Superhero mentality, man.
Yeah, when it becomes bigger than you, like, you move different. Like, your why becomes so big, and, like, your whole process is different, right? And, like, I think it's just amazing that you touched on that. So I feel the same.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, like, one of the things that kind of goes into the 30-year thing as well, the 30-year plan, is, like, one of the ways that I want to reach out to people is also one day work in, like, the marketing department for the White House. That's one of the things on my vision board. So doing that is something that, like, you know, I can reach out to so many more people, right? Yeah. And it can be so crazy that, you know, it's just unseen that I wouldn't be able to comprehend that even to a point, right? So it's like having that kind of mindset is everything. Yeah. And that's for anybody. That's not just influencers and people who are famous. It's for anyone. You know, it's really powerful thing to look at.
That's huge. I like that. Man, this has been good. This has been really good. Definitely a lot of the gems. Like I said, I feel inspired right now. I don't know what I'm about to go do after this, but I'm gonna do it with all my might now.
I'm gonna go have the best drink of water.
Right? Man, that's good. I mean, that's great. We definitely really appreciate you guys taking the time to share that. As we close out, I wanted to see if there were any final thoughts you guys have, any final statements, or even any final plugs for something you're doing right now or something you plan on doing, whatever y'all got. This is your platform to do it.
Trevor, it's your turn.
No, I knew it. I knew it was coming. Final thing for me, just like tidbits of like little wisdom or inspiration, I guess. With everything going on right now, times are tough. And I think that something that everybody could keep in mind is that, like, with everything going on, there's always opportunity and there's always hope. When we focus on all the negativity rather than the hope, we can find ourselves in a tough place. But if we focus on the hope, we end up finding more opportunities that we never could imagine. There's one quote that I read recently during quarantine that was, the most millionaires are made during a depression. And that statement holds true. And I think that resonates with the concept of how much opportunity comes in times of distress. And I don't mean that in like oh, I got to take advantage, but I mean that in like, there's opportunities to help. There's opportunities to uplift people, you know, and it's like that's something to be inspired by. So that's what I would leave with.
I like that. I'm gonna have to go back, watch this replay, and take some of those quotes. It's like Instagram caption for days right there. Yeah, I like that. All right, Danny, you got the floor.
I love that, man. I think that's so powerful. I think as far as like, if I could give somebody kind of advice on how to kind of live things, and the way that I do things is that your business, no matter what you're doing, you can do it, right? You can't let anybody stop you. And having that mentality towards it is everything. And kind of going back to what Trevor was saying too, is that I'm looking at all these opportunities right now, or I'm looking at all these negatives that are going on around us as opportunities. So when something bad is going on, right, you guys have to remember that at the end of it, there's always something good there, no matter what it is, right? You just have to see it. So it's having that vision to seeing it. But if you look at any bad thing that's ever happened in your life, I can pretty much guarantee you that there's something positive that happened. And you have to be able to see that. And that's what these businessmen are doing now too, right? They're looking at this opportunity, this terrible opportunity that is an opportunity, right? So it's like, it's such a bad time, but you see the opportunity and you take it. And you capitalize. You have to capitalize on this thing. So when you see that moment, that's when you capitalize. That's when you do it. So if you're able to do that, and you can literally flip your entire mindset.
That's real. Yeah,
right? Because you can take any negative situation and it's going to be okay. And you're going to be like, oh, no big deal. You know, I can figure this out. Or I can do this now because this happened.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So there's so many things about that. So, you know, that's a really powerful thing there. And I think that's what I really want to say to close it off.
That's perfect. There's no better way I could possibly close that out. That's awesome. So definitely thank you guys for your time. We appreciate that. Definitely looking forward to what both of you are going to continue to create. And I want to thank all of you for logging on and checking out this Create Track panel for the Empowerment 2020 conference. And say goodbye to everyone. And thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate everything you're doing with Mint, by the way, and all the people you're inspiring. I think you have a larger impact than you think on a lot of people, man. I'm starting to see a lot of traction for you guys, so definitely keep it up.
Thank you, man. I've been watching you too, man. You've been killing it, so let's keep it going. Trevor, you too. You guys are both awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love the conversation. We'll do it again sometime.